Introducing Lotus Blossom Geisha Girl First Class.
Asian women are highly fetishized in our society, especially by white men.
The Oriental woman has always held a certain fascination for you Caucasian men.
And one of the roots of this problem is the lotus blossom stereotype, also known as China doll or geisha girl.
She says she's very happy to belong to handsome captain. She says she's gonna serve you well.
So what does this stereotype consist of? The lotus blossom is quiet, docile, and submissive to her male partners.
I will love you, Asa, if that is your desire.
Sometimes also called the lotus blossom baby, she projects a hyper-feminine, baby-like innocence, which can lead to her being treated as empty-headed. She's almost always paired with a white man,
I think I will enjoy very much serving under you.
playing into the male fantasy of being the lotus blossom's white savior, while Asian men are desexualized and removed from the equation. The lotus blossom is above all hypersexualized and is often portrayed as a sex worker.
Me so horny. Me love you long time.
This notorious line of dialogue from Stanley Kubrick's 1987 film Full Metal Jacket both reflected and perpetuated that association in a lasting way.
Me so horny.
She'd be like,
Oh, me so horny. Me love you long time.
The innocent lotus blossom is the flip side of the deceitful dragon lady,
My vengeance is inspired tonight.
who weaponizes her sexuality for nefarious purposes. But both tropes perpetuate the overt and excessive sexuality that has long been linked to Asian female characters. In short, the lotus blossom trope portrays Asian women on screen as objects of desire, but ones which are disposable.
Get out! Be a prostitute! I should have never touched you in the first place. I can get 10 like you in 2 minutes.
They're lusted after only as long as they continue to project traits like obedience, subservience, and a baby-like lack of agency or individuality. Here's our take on how the lotus blossom trope fetishizes Asian women with dangerous, real-world consequences.
For many in the Asian community, Tuesday's attack was a culmination of a narrative in which Asian women are hypersexualized and fetishized.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about all our new videos. If you're a fan of this channel, then you probably consider yourself a lifelong learner. That's why I recommend you check out the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an incredible online learning community that offers thousands of inspiring classes. The first 1,000 Take viewers to use the link in our description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So check it out now and start exploring your creativity. Before the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act suspended all Chinese immigration into the U.S., the Page Act of 1875 prohibited the immigration of East Asian women for immoral purposes. In practice, this effectively banned all Chinese women from entering the country.
Legislation in the United States, such as the Page Act, discriminated and barred Asian women. They've been stereotyped as a seductress, as subservient.
Hollywood's earliest portrayals of Asian women solidified the Lotus Blossom's counterpart, the Dragon Lady, as the female embodiment of yellow peril, or the perceived threat that Asian immigrants pose to an American way of life.
You will first have the torture of seeing her beauty eaten slowly away by this hungry acid.
Chinese actress Anna May Wong was famous for roles like the scheming Mongol slave in the 1924 silent film The Thief of Baghdad to the duplicitous Princess Ling Moy in 1931's Daughter of the Dragon.
Just merciless vengeance.
The trope of the lotus blossom portrayed the Asian woman as both sexual and submissive, originating with Pierre Loti's semi-autobiographical 1887 novel Madame Chrysanthemum, about a naval officer's temporary marriage to a Japanese woman. This influenced the 1898 John Luther Long story Madame Butterfly, about an American naval officer who takes a temporary wife called Butterfly, but abandons her and the child he doesn't know about to return to America, where he weds an American woman. Both literary works inspired Giacomo Puccini's 1904 opera Madama Butterfly, which changed Long's ending. While in the story, Butterfly doesn't go through with hurting herself. In the opera, Butterfly takes her own life after giving her son an American flag. As film scholar Celine Pereñas-Shimizu told Vox, they were romanticizing the compatibility of a docile war bride as an ideal American wife, because she was sexually servile but also a domestic servant. In the second half of the 20th century, the extensive US military presence in Asian countries created something called the military sexual complex.
What do we get for $10?
Everything you want.
Which institutionalized US military prostitution through agreements with Asian governments and contributed to the hypersexualization of Asian women in Western media. Many poor or working-class Asian women were forced to go into prostitution to survive following the disruption of war, putting them in a position to be exploited by American soldiers. As Karajibola Carolus, the executive director of Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women, tweeted, "White men have been trained, peer-pressured, and hazed by the US military to release their anxiety, self-loathing, and hatred of the enemy onto Asian women's bodies." But strikingly, this relationship is depicted romantically in Western media, particularly in the award-winning 1989 Broadway musical Miss Saigon.
You're the one good thing that I found out here.
Another iteration of the Madame Butterfly story, Miss Saigon focuses on the doomed love story between Chris, an American GI, and Kim, a 17-year-old Vietnamese prostitute who has his child after he leaves Vietnam.
Some nights I wake up reaching for him.
When he returns with an American wife, like in Madame Butterfly, Kim selflessly kills herself so that Chris's wife will consent to take and raise her son in America.
You're still mine, but I can't go along.
But while it's played as a tragic love story showing individuals trapped by impossible circumstances, the real story here is the huge power imbalance between Chris and Kim.
I'm 17 and I'm new here today.
And the underlying white savior narrative in the implication that the only chance for a good life that Kim or her son have is for Chris to come back and take them to America.
You will be who you want to be.
Later media examples have often perpetuated these early stereotypes. Numerous films have continued to pair white men with Asian women, often without digging deeply into the problematic power imbalance at play.
Let's just look at Fawn, this beauty, mistress of an older European man. Well, that pretty well describes the whole country, doesn't it?
Films like Sayonara, The World of Susie Wong, Year of the Dragon, and The Quiet American reinforce the feeling that Asian women are representative of an exotic other meant to be dominated by white men.
I hated you in Vietnam, so why do I want to f you so bad?
I can't say what made me fall in love with Vietnam. That a woman's voice can drug you.
Tom Cruise's character Nathan Algren in The Last Samurai actually ends up having a romantic relationship with a Japanese woman, Taka, who he widowed.
I killed her husband.
It was a good death.
The white savior element to many of these stories implies that the woman is lucky that a man from a wealthy Western country is interested in rescuing her.
How would you like staying with me?
This trope in turn emasculates Asian men, suggesting they're an inferior romantic option compared to the white male, and contributing to the way that Asian men are widely emasculated in American pop culture.
I did read somewhere that the people that do worst on the apps are Asian men and black women.
Well, it's great white people finally have an advantage somewhere.
Media portrayals also often exaggerate the exoticness of the lotus blossom, particularly through the way she dresses. In The World of Susie Wong, a film about the relationship that forms between Robert, an American architect, and Susie, a Hong Kong prostitute, it's clear that Robert values Susie because of her foreignness. Robert disapproves of Susie wearing Western clothing.
You look like a cheap European streetwalker.
Claiming she's more beautiful wearing her normal clothes.
Haven't the faintest idea of what real beauty is.
But what he's really saying is that he wants Susie to conform to his idea of what an authentic Chinese girl looks like. And this othering of Asian women through appearance has helped to perpetuate the stereotype that they are actually different physically.
Every guy's gonna leave you for an Asian woman. They laugh like this because they know men hate when women speak. And how do they bring it on home for the win? Oh, the smallest vaginas in the game.
Meanwhile, Japan's portrayal of Asian women in anime and manga, in particular the image of the big-boobed, blushing Japanese Japanese schoolgirl has also perpetuated the lotus blossom stereotype among Western audiences because this kind of material is what sells. An adult obsession with these types of characters is especially uncomfortable and problematic given their youth. Meanwhile, when portrayals of Asian women on screen seek to move away from the obedient lotus blossom type, they can end up conforming to the dragon lady trope.
Sex is a weapon. In my club, the women basically control the dumbstick and take the men's money.
Asian women of different nationalities also tend to be homogenized on screen, with a carelessness that reduces them to generic Asianness. The film Memoirs of a Geisha, despite taking place in Japan, came under criticism for casting Chinese actresses for all 3 female lead roles.
You cannot call yourself a true geisha until you can stop a man in his tracks with a single look.
Similarly, many Asian characters have been given names which simply sound Asian by white creators, a practice harkening back to the days of Fu Manchu, a stereotypical Chinese villain whose name was made up by English novelist Sax Rohmer.
Death to Fu Manchu.
The face of Fu Manchu.
In Mean Girls, Trang Pak's name
Trang Pak?
is actually the combination of a Vietnamese surname and a Korean surname. And Harry Potter's Cho Chang combines a Korean surname and a Chinese surname. The Office finds humor in Michael's using a Sharpie to tell 2 Asian women apart. And even if the joke is supposed to be Michael's callousness,
which one is she?
It's one of those 2.
it still reduces the characters to set up for this punchline.
This is now how he's going to be able to determine which one of these women is his girlfriend. This moment really made me cringe.
It made me cringe too. I just don't think the storyline would have been written today.
Worst of all, media portrayals of Asian women, whether through the lotus blossom or the dragon lady trope, consistently emphasize their sexuality. And this is often mined for comedy.
Trang Pak made out with Coach Carr? And so did Sun Jin Din.
In I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, the only Asian women in the film function as sexual objects meant solely to reinforce Chuck's heterosexuality.
The girls are here. The girls, they want the Gatorade.
And there are numerous other examples where sexualized Asian or Asian American females are used as bit parts or almost set dressing in a story that's not really about them.
I'll take that one right there. She got to come.
Oh, yes. She's very nice.
She is nice, but I hurt my back and my neck, and I need a little bit more massage, so I'm gonna take her in the pink, too.
This limited portrayal of Asian women on screen, in turn, limits how Americans perceive Asian women in real life.
You know how many people have said to me he's doing his lawyer, the Chinese dragon lady?
The fetishization of lotus blossoms has undeniably contributed to the fact that Asian women are seen as the most desirable racial group to date for men of all races, as well as more likely to experience sexual violence from intimate partners than any other racial group. The 2021 Atlanta shootings further reveal how racism and misogyny are inextricably combined in the problematic way Asian women are fetishized in our society.
Asian women are always racialized, even if they're sexualized.
So where is the lotus blossom trope today? In the past decade, there have been a number of Asian women on screen who are not China dolls or dragon ladies, but real three-dimensional characters.
But all I saw was fear in your eyes. And I was confused and scared constantly.
Ambitious, intimidating women like Christina Yang in Grey's Anatomy and Agent Melinda May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might come across as stereotypical dragon ladies at first.
Bambi, don't say another word till after the hunter shoots your mother.
But their emotional depth, complexity, and evolution make them much more than that.
Sometimes that's the price of doing the right thing. No one will understand, and it hurts like hell.
Films like Crazy Rich Asians and Always Be My Maybe explore the complexity of a relatable female Asian protagonist, as well as move away from the practice of pairing Asian women with white men, letting fully formed Asian male protagonists take the spotlight.
Hello, my name is Marcus. Lyrics for your carcass.
These more recent portrayals also explore Asian identity in a way that leaves behind the homogenized portrayals of lotus blossoms in earlier media. In Crazy Rich Asians, Rachel struggles with her identity as an Asian American in contrast to her boyfriend Nick's Singaporean family.
How are they different? They're Chinese, I'm Chinese.
Yeah, but you grew up here.
You're different.
Awkwafina's character Billy in The Farewell grapples with the difference between her expectations and values as someone raised in America and those of her Chinese family when dealing with her grandmother's cancer diagnosis.
这正是西方和东方的文化差异问题。东方人是把生命看作是集体的。
Recent depictions of Asian women in media have helped to break down the hypersexualization of the Lotus Blossom and Dragon Lady tropes and showcase their humanity.
Because the more people that you let into your life, the more that can just walk right out.
But despite this progress, even in the past decade, multiple films based on Asian source material have cast white women as leads, denying those roles to Asian women and preventing them from having the opportunities to dismantle these stereotypes.
Oh, Captain Ring.
It's Ing. It is the first studio film with an Asian American lead since Ghost in the Shell and Aloha.
And on social media, it's clear that the Lotus Blossom trope is still alive and well. In some cases, it's even become a joke for half-white, half-Asian kids to exploit.
My dad is a conservative with an Asian fetish.
But it's also clear that many people still buy into it, with dehumanizing and harmful results. And this objectification is especially evident on dating apps. There's nothing inherently wrong with female Asian characters who are sexy badasses or perfect wives. The problem comes when Asian or Asian American women often aren't allowed to be anything else.
Very sexy furu.
And as shown by the negative experiences Asian women still encounter today, dehumanizing portrayals that reduce these characters to fetishized sexual objects
Why do Chinese girls taste different from all other girls?
shape how our society views and treats Asian women.
Come on, we're going to Asian Hooters.
In order to truly move past the trap of the Lotus Blossom trope, Asian women need the opportunity to play characters who challenge those narratives. And with 91% of executives at major and mid-level studios being white as of last year, that isn't always so easy. Asian women are so much more than Lotus Blossoms, and they deserve to be seen that way on screen.
I want to see the people who have been stereotyped given their own story, because the danger of a stereotype is that they're one-dimensional.
This is The Take on your favorite movies, shows, and culture.
Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us.
Please subscribe and never miss a take.
Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. One thing I've really enjoyed about being home more this past year is honing my gardening skills. One class on Skillshare I really recommend checking out is Ekta Chaudhry's class on indoor gardening. All of Ekta's reviews say the class totally exceeded their expectations, and I felt the same. I learned how to create my own soil blend and developed a watering schedule that lets my plants flourish. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, but that's only if you're one of the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below. So join today and jumpstart your creative journey for less than $10 a month with an annual subscription.